Hey guys, welcome back to another Lore Olympus video, but this time it's a little different. This is basically what if I wrote Lore Olympus? Now, this is gonna take everything Rachel has done. I'm gonna restructure it, I'm gonna change it up a little bit, and honestly, I'm very excited to be focusing on this miniseries. It's probably gonna be like 5 to 6 episodes because I got so much information that I'm sure a lot of people would probably not like it if I had a whole long ass video about it. So instead, I'm turning it into a mini series. So this is for season 1 of my version of Lore Olympus. Oh boy. So it still keeps the elements of, modern settings in some areas, but it also focuses a lot of the relationships to be at least, working, not forced, not feeling like it's swift or too eh. Now, let me begin with what I wanted to do first and talk about, which is Persephone's design. Now, a lot of people are probably going to come for me in the comments for this, but I absolutely did not like Persephone's design. I have drawn Persephone at one point, and it was a cute drawing, I'll admit that. But after seeing Rhea, I was just like, okay, one of you girls have to change, and it's obviously going to be Persephone because she comes afterwards. And it makes more sense, in my opinion. But, anyways, Persephone, I decided to take an element and make her identical to her mother, considering, she doesn't look anything like her mom. I mean, if you look at a lot of the children of each and every god, Aphrodite, oh, they look identical because they have a shade of pink, and she's, purplish, depending on which chapter it is. And you see Artemis and Apollo, who look identical to their father. You see Hebe and Ares and Eros also looking identical to their mother. So, for the sake of opinion, shouldn't Persephone look like, her mom? So I decided to change the skin color of Persephone and go with a nicer, smoother green. It's like a spring mint green color. And I figured that would work well with the rose colored hair she would have. It's more of a magenta red wine kind of color, but it looks like a good color for a rose since she is made out of roses. I figured that would be the first thing I would do with her character, considering she. I mean, if you look at Persephone and her mom, you would probably not even tell the two are identical. And I know in some ways there's not a lot of people that look exactly like their parents. But in the case of Lore Olympus, it's just basically shoving, hey, yeah, they look identical to their parents except for Persephone, who looks like this, I guess. And honestly, I really hated the lots of lots of pink. Now, Hades can kind of get away with it considering he has white hair. Like, it depends on which, color. In the earlier versions, it's a lighter blue, but then it's changed to a white color. So it makes sense. Persephone looking exactly like her mom was something I wanted to do, but also make it so she looks like her own character, looks like her own person. Like she's still identical to her mom in some cases, except that her hair is red wine. Now, that's what I wanted to cover first because I think it was either that or I would take, the main idea of where Persephone came from the mythology, which was, Zeus. And I decided she didn't look that good for purple, like full on purple. So I just made it so she looked like her mom without it feeling so forced. It looks nice, it's a lighter tone, and it works for her character, especially considering she is made out of roses, which, body is a green stem, the petals are red or whatever color, white, or whatever color you want. So I figured that would be a perfect basis of what she would look like in my version of Lore Olympus. So that way she, people actually know she's the daughter of, you know, Demeter. Now, there is a long list of things I have for season one. I have 5 seasons in total, but season one was a lot to go there. So we would start from like the beginning of how Hades met Persephone. Now, Hades is on a long journey in the mortal realm. He's just getting back to his realm through an opening, and during his time making his way over to his like, little area, stairways, I don't know. I think in I think in my version there would just be like openings in specific areas to make sure that the gods can, go up or down depending on where they work in the mortal realm. And it's just nearby where Demeter works to kind of make it easier for gods to access a lot of these, points, because that way in Demeter's area you can easily make sure that none of the gods immediately meet with crisis, and they would have a perfect space because the nymphs and Demeter have their own area and forbid mortals from coming into that area. So it's a perfect place for gods to get out and go in when they please. It's either that like in Demeter's area, or depending on the god, um places of worship of each and every god and goddess, that there's those entrance points. But to make sure that everyone, god, nymph, or mortal, is safely transported, they make sure that the area is restricted to some extent. Okay. Now, I chose Demeter's area because, again, like I said, easier to go around. Mortals are banned from the area so they can work in peace, that kind of stuff, like that kind of element. So Hades is making his way back to his realm and going into the opening, but notices from a distance he sees Persephone for the first time in the flower field, and just, basically just sitting there, appreciate, like, this is the scene that I was kind of like implementing in this image that I made based off of the first image he saw of Persephone in the comic. I wanted it to be a little more natural because she's the only thing around, you know, around the area. And he sees her for the first time and notices how beautiful she is. And, you know, he starts to feel something. But as Persephone is about to look up, he vanishes. I kind of feel like he's always wearing the robe of, like, that robe of invincibility. Like, was it a robe? I don't know. I sound stupid, I'm sorry, but that's how he manages to get away from a lot of scenes. But the way that she looked at him made him feel something that day. But we'll move on with the plot a little bit. There's a lot for season one, oh my god. So okay, so Persephone is tired of the same old thing every day, and it's before her 21st birthday. Yes, I have aged her up in this version. Sue me, of course. And she still had, like, she has never left her mother's nursery. Get it? Cuz like flowers are like in a like gathering is called a nursery, and her mom treats her like a child still cuz like nursery. Yeah, I'm sorry for the bad jokes, guys. I'm sorry. I just wanted to use that pun once at least, please. Okay, so she's dealing with that, and she's not really sure how to feel during that time. Like, she's grown used to this environment of where she lived in, like where she was born, where she was raised in, how many friends and family members she has there, and she deals with this every single day. And over time, as things get closer to her 21st birthday, like Hades encounters Persephone on the same road back to his, like, back to the like elevator. I'm just going to call it the elevator to make it easier for you guys, cuz calling it the transporter is just stupid. So he's getting back to his elevator, or staircase. Staircase, Okay, staircase. So he's getting back into this, like he's going back to the staircase that leads to the underworld, and oh, like he's about to get really close to like the area where Persephone's in, and a letter is flown over to him, and that's the letter that Persephone was working on to give to her mom, explaining how much she wants to visit Olympus for her 21st birthday. Hades awkwardly introduces himself, handing her back the letter. Persephone is curious of who he is. Now, he doesn't introduce himself like as Hades. He's just like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." That kind of, like, I guess I shouldn't have placed in intro. Uh, so, Persephone is curious of who he is, considering Hades doesn't really leave the underworld that much, so she isn't really too sure about who this guy is. Hades is a little surprised she doesn't know who he is when she asks for his name, because like I think the only thing he would probably say is like, "Oh yeah, I'm H" or something, like a short letter word, or maybe he wouldn't say "I," like none of your business, that kind of thing. I'm thinking like I know I said I completed this, but I'm just like still working on that. I'm thinking maybe he says it coldly, like don't care, like I don't care if you don't know who I am, blah blah blah, whatever. He's used to that, because this version of Hades would have a different perspective of people who are trying to get with him. Now, let me just. Okay. Sorry, I had to make sure I plugged in my laptop. So, yeah. So, yeah, they break things off. I know that's not really the correct term to use in this, but he stops the conversation and he goes back to his realm as he notices Demeter in the background working with some nymphs. Hades is curious about who Persephone is, as she looked very beautiful, because that's the first thing people look in. And I guess first impressions are usually the looks, so physical appearance matters. Anyways, later on, Persephone is hanging out with Artemis. Yes, I've decided it would be more interesting to have Artemis in the mortal realm much more than on Olympus, unless it's urgent to be at Olympus, because she's always, she's supposed to be the protector of women, and she plays a bit of a role like in Persephone's independence and how she should guide herself towards a route that she believes in. So, yeah, she's telling Persephone she plans on making her birthday wish come true of visiting Olympus, and Persephone isn't convinced until Artemis mentions that she, Athena, and Hestia are willing to help her for this wish. Persephone is happy to hear that Artemis is always willing to help her out. Now, in this version, Artemis and her have met because of how I think, Demeter would bring in other goddesses to associate with her daughter, so she's not that lacking of social skills. She just doesn't really understand different environments, which I want Persephone to want to be into, like love the idea of seeing so many different sceneries and different buildings and such. Considering she's always been in the mortal realm, she wouldn't be able to see, big skyscrapers in the underworld, or in like buildings in general in Olympus. So seeing sites like that would definitely make her happy to see so many things like that she probably never thought she would get a chance to see. So, anyways, gotta take a sip of sip. So Persephone asks Demeter before having the three friends ask her for her. Demeter isn't sure, considering how going out and drinking isn't really a good thing to, like, have your daughter do. Persephone says she'll be fine and nothing will happen. Eventually, Artemis cuts in to tell Demeter that she and her friends will make sure nothing happens, as nobody is willing to step on Artemis's toes after the Aestion situation. Demeter reluctantly agrees only if Persephone is returned before a specific time. She and Artemis make a shake to the agreement, or in this case, I think there's a version where like you actually like vow on the river of like I know it was like one of the rivers in Greece based off of a goddess, but I can't remember. I think was it the river of Nyx? Like was it the river of Nyx? I don't know. Like someone please remind me in the comments. I know I wasn't doing much, but I feel like that would probably be the best way for them to make a vow to make sure that Persephone is home safely. That would have been the first course of action to do to make, acknowledgement to that part. But yeah. Um anyways, in another part of the scene, well, not that scene, but like meanwhile with Hades, he is dragged around by his brothers to another strip bar. He doesn't seem pleased with his situation as he really didn't plan on doing much that night. Zeus takes them to another bar, as this one's way too boring. Hades reluctantly follows, getting to a dance club, which he's not too fond of. They're at the same club Persephone is with Athena, Hestia, and Artemis, who vow to help Persephone experience things without the pressure of her mother, but keeping to themselves as well. Hades notices Persephone all dressed up and pretty. He tries not to make it a big deal, as she's just like every other nymph out there, any woman out there to be there by his side for his riches. Now, in this version, again, like I mentioned, I wanted Hades to deal with people who, were fearful of him, didn't approach him, and those who did only wanted him for his riches, for his power, and that's why he's always pushed off by, anybody actually approaching him and wanting to have a conversation with him because he doesn't really think they have good intentions. He's seen so many people lied before. He's keen of the underworld. He's seen souls of mortals who told him, their lies or the truth. He knows when someone is lying and someone is telling the truth. He just, with other goddesses and such, he's not even sure of himself. He tries to push people off so he doesn't get hurt. And I think that's the best way I can really describe Hades in this version, like of Lore Olympus, in my version of Lore Olympus. I mean, and okay, so Athena, Hestia, and Artemis kind of play this role of we're gonna try and like push you to do your own thing on your own. We're gonna tell your mom, yeah, we're watching you. We're just making sure you get to experience these things as well as understanding to be your own person because we want to help you with that. They're not going to be like pushing you to stay a virgin. They want to push you to do your own thing. And they've noticed that Demeter's protective nature, especially Hestia, has noticed that Demeter hasn't given Persephone a chance to grow on her own. So, of course, she would make sure that, their mission is to help Persephone find herself and what her role will be in Olympus and as a goddess. So, they're there to do that. They want to be, supportive friends as well and make sure that nothing bad happens, but they give her enough space to discover things on her own, if that makes sense. And those who try to do anything will definitely meet the wrath of Artemis, because I do like that version of Artemis that we saw in the early season 1, where she does make you understand that she cannot allow men in her house. She cannot allow this or that, and that's a good reason. Like when she's part of like the eternal goddesses of maidenhood, it's it's important. They're not going to have her part of that. They're just there to be supportive of a young goddess trying to discover herself. So they're just there to be kind of like they'll help you, like help pull you up, but you got to pull yourself up as well. If not, they're not going to do shit for you. Man, I'm barely in the beginning of this, and it's 20 minutes so far. Oh my god, guys. Oh my god. Oh my god. But okay, So eventually, Persephone loses track of Artemis and the others. Artemis getting into another competition with her brother Apollo. Now, this is what actually happened. Like it is mentioned in the first season where Zeus tries to get Artemis off her back, but in this case, Apollo actually approaches her and says, "Hey, yeah, it's been a while since we had a little sparring contest, huh? Let's go outside. Let's see who's the best." And he's obviously drunk, so he's gonna say, shit out of his ass. And Artemis is like, "No way, you can't be." And then he's like, "Oh, prove it." And she gets drunk too. They both get into a drunk competition with each other. Hestia and Athena get distracted by that, and Persephone is left on her own. And that makes more sense than what happened before when because I can literally believe someone who is drunk can't monitor them. And if they're doing something stupid like getting into a drunken archery contest with each other, that makes more sense than anything else. Okay? Okay. So, yeah, Persephone loses Artemis and the others, and Persephone wanders around awkwardly, eventually finding the basement area of the bar. Now, I think in this case it would be like this dance club on the top, on the bottom where more people who don't want to deal with the music, don't want to deal with the dancing. They're just there to drink and that's it. And soundproof walls and shit because it's Olympus. I don't know. But basically, Persephone finds Hades there, and she recognizes him as the man who always, goes down to the underworld and asks him if he'll tell her who he is. Hades again doesn't want to admit who he is and laughs in her face about it, asking her if she can't be serious. She's been so protective by her mom that she doesn't really know many of the male gods. Oh, maybe Zeus, since he definitely has come by many times to drop off a nip or two. And, well, in this case, Persephone wouldn't really know who Hades is because, I think the situation between Demeter and Hades in this realm would be, well, this version would definitely not spear, coming from a, business situation. It would be more on the lines of other elements, which I'll probably explain in season 2 if I manage to get that far. But okay. He laughs in her face and asking her she can't be serious. Persephone admits she doesn't know too many men in her life, but knows about a lot of the goddesses as they were allowed to help her, help, help mentor her in her younger years. Hades admits he's the god of the dead. He's the ruler of the underworld. What does she want? What does she like? He starts talking like, okay, what do you want? Like my riches? You want my interest? You want to be part of my powerful company? Like he's just basically spewing off about this, and Persephone's just sitting there listening to him, and she admits she wasn't looking for stuff like that. She was just looking to know where Artemis is, and this kind of leaves Hades feeling embarrassed for a minute and just saying, man, I'm still reading through my long ass script. I am sorry, guys. I really am. But okay. Whew. But yeah, he tells her where she was outside getting into a contest with her brother, and Persephone leaves, confused about him. Later on, I would say like a day or two later, Persephone asks her mother about Hades a little bit. Oh man, I gotta I'm reading my words that I already put there. Ugh. So Demeter is confused as to why she's asking about him. Persephone is curious why Hades is so cold. Demeter answers with he's just been through a lot and admits he's never particularly cared for social interaction. And I think this is probably my favorite part of what I've written down so far for this season. It's slowly building, getting built up, and it's not rushing towards anything. Give me a minute to take a sip. Anyways, as I was saying, okay, so this would be days later or something. Cerberus goes missing, and Hades has looked everywhere. He's trying to keep himself calm and cool. Going through his workday, and after work, he goes to find Cerberus. Cerberus turns out to have gotten lost on his long walk in the mortal realm and encounters Persephone, who's able to stop him from destroying and eating all of the nymphs' food and workstations. Guiding the dog away to rest in the flowers till Hades encounters the scene. Now, I would imagine like Cerberus just coming in like excitedly because of the like I feel like the smell from that realm would definitely would have gotten like attached to Hades a little bit, as well as waiting for Hades near the entrance to the underworld. He would be waiting there every day, and he got curious. Okay, that's my best explanation. And he would go around looking around, being himself, and Persephone stops him, and you know just manages to get him away from the scene and stop him from destroying anything or eating all the food. And she would enjoy his company, and Cerberus would enjoy having her pet him. That would be like adorable. Like just like, having everything be stopped and just getting back to it, like back to work and stuff, such. But yeah, Hades thanks Persephone and Demeter for their hospitality for his dog. He will repay them, and he does eventually at a later point. Now, here's another like scene for later on. I would say maybe like days later, Persephone is talking with one of her nymph friends, Daisy, because I'm gonna probably name most of the nymphs in this after flowers or plants because that's easier to remember than actually giving them other names. So she's talking to her. She's been close friends with Daisy and talks about how handsome and charming Hades was that day. Daisy admits that nobody really finds Hades that attractive, and considering he stinks of death due to his job, she doesn't really care to listen too much. Oh my freaking goodness. Sorry, guys. Okay, give me a minute. Anyways, I'm sorry for that interruption. Anyways, all right. So months go by, the same routine happens every week. Hades goes out more to see Persephone and trying to attend to business. To I don't know, like maybe there's something in the mortal realm that he pays less attention to. I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe it's to ensure that the like souls are able to get on the boat or whatever. I don't know. So Hades goes out to see Persephone more and trying to attend to business, greeting her, sometimes bringing his dogs with him for walks. He warms up to conversations with her. Persephone is put in charge of more duties by her mother, who wants to make sure she knows what her job is in the mortal realm and how important she is. Noticing how she's been focusing more on her other hobbies, baking more food for her nymph friends, and gathering flowers, strange things she has noticed with Persephone was humming happily coming back from gathering flowers, confusing her. Now, usually I would say in this, like in my version, Persephone is a more quiet girl, and she does attend to her studies. She does focus more on her, you know, like what she's supposed to be doing, that kind of thing. And she's never really, humming, singing, that kind of thing. So that kind of surprises Demeter since she is very observant. But yeah. Also, Persephone isn't alone being the child of Demeter. I've decided to bring Aaron and Despiona? Despionia? Despiona? Okay, so I'm just gonna call her Desi. Desi. Desi? Desi. Desi. Okay, so I'm gonna call her Desi. I'm not sure if that's a bad word or not. Like, do people actually name their kid Desi? Meaning, okay, so. Oh, yeah, it is a name. Okay, so Desi, who is the twin sister of Aaron, which they're both the kids of Poseidon. Yeah, so yeah, I'm bringing that involved because honestly, I know that will definitely explain a few other elements and kind of bring more awareness in a different way. So, Desi plays a minor role as trying too hard to please Demeter, but Demeter prefers Persephone over Desi. She's often jealous of the way that Persephone is treated better than she is, and hates how she and her brother Aaron are on the sidelines. Aaron is fine by this. He doesn't like the attention, but Desi doesn't. Now, Decipiona is a very less used goddess and is at best a minor fertility goddess that is featured at Demeter's place of worship. So I figured her being undercredited and undervalued in Lore Olympus would definitely give more of a drama feel without needing to use Menthe to use that kind of form of like drama, if you get what I mean. So eventually, after months of talking and getting to know one another, Persephone confesses her feelings to Hades, who admits he does feel like there's something there too, but isn't too sure. He's reluctant. Persephone asks if they can go on a date. Hades agrees. This leads to Persephone lying to Demeter that she's going out with Athena, Artemis, and Hestia again to grab some drinks and to talk with a company that likes their brand for an interview. Demeter agrees, just like, feeling okay, fine, whatever. Make sure you come back by this time. So, yeah, Hades and Persephone goes out to the underworld for a quick coffee date. This is where they learn about each other and how Persephone learns about what kind of person Hades is. Now, this, I'm just imagining, Hades leading her to a big nighttime city filled with many lights and beautiful buildings and architecture, and she's just in awe of how big and beautiful this place is. And she thought Olympus was amazing. She immediately believes the underworld is definitely one of the biggest places she's ever been to. Okay, so they go into the coffee shop and watching as Hades is immediately led in first, like into the line, treated and respected first. He's he's used to it, but Persephone tells Hades and the others to let the people in front who waited there go first, and let everyone continue as if it's normal. This surprises Hades, as anyone in Persephone's shoes probably would have enjoyed the attention and being first. And I think this is probably a good way to show that, hey, yeah, like Persephone may like Hades, but she wouldn't really like the treatment delivered with what Hades gets. Everyone's fearful of Hades, doesn't want to deal with, the glaring, the coldness. They just probably just want to let him go in first just because they want to get him out of there faster. So, both Hades and Persephone sit down. Hades holding his hot cup of coffee, hot cup of black coffee, just, simple, straight to it. Persephone, I most likely imagine, would order those frappuccinos with lots of additional toppings like extra whipped cream, caramel sauce, chocolate sauce, sprinkles, that kind of thing. She's just like, she's experiencing everything and that little, like, what that little coffee shop has to offer. And she's just excited to be there. Like, that's what I'm imagining. Someone who's happy to travel, someone who's excited to see what else is like in store for that area. And she's just really happy. Anyways, I gotta stop saying anyways. So Persephone admits that they do seem like complete like opposites, considering the difference of drink choices, how Hades is cold and not really social, and how she's just excitable, is friendly, she loves talking, even though she hasn't had that many social interactions with anyone outside of her, area of where the nymphs work and such. She's just excited to be able to make more friends, be able to interact with more different people, learning about different things about each and every place. That's what I'm imagining for for my version of like Persephone. She admits that she likes the company of Hades because he's not afraid to be blunt. Hades admits a lot of women wouldn't have minded being first, so why was she insistent that Hades wait last while everyone else went first? Persephone admits that because that's how Demeter raised her. That's how her family is. Demeter always made sure that even though she was a goddess, she would wait before her nymphs to eat for better results and to care for them as if they were as if they were her own children. I see Demeter as being this goddess who isn't afraid to let people go before her within reason and making sure that they're cared for, especially those who work for you and work alongside you. Those are the most important people, as well as being friendly and such. Like, I feel like she would be more of a family orientated type of person. She would raise Persephone to believe that. She would raise her other children to believe that. She would tell her nymphs to believe that, because that's how business is working and that's how her business runs. So that makes her a little different compared to Hades, who lets dead souls take care of his business and shit. Anyways, these dates would be short and quick. Now, after this date, Hades is still kind of surprised of how Persephone is, but he accepts her, he respects her, and they continue on their way. And quickly enough, they would go out for more dates. They would be short walks in the park, or another coffee date, or visits to the library, something short that would last an hour before Demeter would notice how long her daughter's been gone, to make sure that, they deliver on making sure she isn't out that much, but making sure their little moments they have together lasts, if that makes sense. Okay, so these dates would be short and quick, enough so Demeter wouldn't notice, and she'd update her mom on how they would go. This would go on for many months before Hades admits he wants to be with her, but he must ask Zeus and Hera for permission. Now this is nearing the end of the season, and I would imagine season 1 would probably take about, my personal opinion, I want to say about 20 or 25 episodes to kind of deliver on any of the side stories, cuz I don't really have a side story for each of the characters, but maybe if I were to add side stories, it would definitely be, you know, little shorts, short stories between each date or something, or in between visits. I don't know. But it would definitely contain the use of Artemis and Apollo. Apollo in this wouldn't really be a creep. He would actually, sometimes visit Demeter because, he is kind of important to some extent, associated with the sun, but he's not really the sun god. But plus, he just likes, stepping on her land and seeing what's going on, and to look for Artemis, who often visits there. So Demeter's kind of just used to him being there. She doesn't really care for, you know, his jacking around to find Artemis, but she'll let him look around, just to make sure that Persephone doesn't encounter him. But Persephone has met him. They don't really feel anything for the other. It's just they're friends at best, because Persephone's best friends with Artemis. So yeah, that's where I'm going with this. So yeah. Anyways, Hades admits he wants to be with Persephone, but he must ask Zeus and Hera for permission. Persephone must now figure out how she wants to tell her mom she wants to marry Hades too. During that encounter, Desi sees the two talking and holding each other. She reports to Demeter about this new romance. When Persephone returns to her home, she decides to finally tell Demeter she wants to marry Hades and be with him. Hades is also heading to Olympus to ask Zeus and Hera for Persephone's hand in marriage, considering he wants to make sure everything's okay at the top, and Persephone's going to check in with her mom. And they're both doing this at the same time to make sure that they get it done urgently, because that's how much they want to get with each other. At the end, though, Demeter tells Persephone she can't get married to Hades. She shouldn't be rushing into a relationship with someone she barely knows. She doesn't know that Persephone was seeing Hades at the side. Like, during those times when she said she was going out to hang out with Artemis and the others for, you know, girl time. And it's it's definitely crazy, I gotta say. But yeah, this leads to one of the big scenes I was like building up to this. It's probably not a big scene to some people, but I think it's one of the big scenes that kind of reveals the like way that the characters are treated in this. And I want to say that they have their own interactions and feelings, and I wanted to twist things around a bit to make it so it's more interesting. But yeah, anyways, Hades enters the office of Zeus where he's arguing with Hera about something important. Hades admits he wants to discuss a proposal with the both of them as professionally as he can. Hades tells them that he wants to marry Persephone. Hera and Zeus aren't sure at first, but immediately Hera says no. She makes her reason that Persephone is far too young, she has never left her mother's side, and Demeter wouldn't be, be for this. She wouldn't want to be there for that. She wouldn't want that. And she doesn't want to touch anything that might cause Demeter to lose her shit, considering she's an important figure in the mortal realm. And this leaves Zeus to make the final say when his wife says no. And he looks at he looks at his wife and then his brother. And he isn't sure how to respond. On one hand, it's his older brother who's said and done everything Zeus has told him to do. And on the other, his wife who wants him to agree with her for once and take their role seriously. He decides to take a step to agree with his wife, as he wants to rebuild that bridge and not burn it anymore. And this just leads to more drama later on. But this would lead to Persephone and Hades not getting what they want. This would end season one as Persephone is heartbroken and overwhelmed with feelings and having plants grow around her out of out of sadness, out of pain and heartbroken. And on the other half, you would see a disappointed Hades who's conflicted about, yeah, it's happened again. I can't get this right. Nobody wants me to have anything I want. Like, it's basically leaves season one on that because having it end happy would be too predictable. But yeah, that's what I would have done if I wrote the first season of Lore Olympus. Yes, there would not be Persephone becoming some kind of a what was the thing called, like assistant or whatever, like a volunteer. It would not happen in this. She wouldn't work for the company because that would just seem like it's another 50 Shades of Grey kind of situation. It I wanted it to grow on the outside. Nothing going on in the underworld just yet, but I wanted to plant the idea of the underworld being this big and beautiful place to Persephone, and she's just learning about these different places and how she's experiencing her life being there or like wherever, and it makes her happy and excited to see what's going to happen next. And on the other hand, it deals with a lot of other situations as Hades is dealing with slowly opening up that door to Persephone, not sure if he made the right choice or if he rushed too fast, and he has to live with like what Hera said, that she was far too young, and he kind of doesn't seem sure about this relationship as he had a former lover before Persephone. But you know what? I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm going to leave it there because I think you guys will be definitely asking for season 1, maybe. Season 2, I mean, because there's a lot of things I said so far. But yeah, I'm trying to make use of what happened in season 1 enough to kind of balance out the characters and making sure I introduce new characters that would actually make a difference, such as the older sister, Despiana. Like, Despia? Like, frick, I keep saying her name wrong, but we're just calling her Desi. So, Desi would definitely be a character that would cause drama because she isn't getting the way she wants, because she is a product of what happened between Demeter and Poseidon. So it's definitely awkward enough when you have to live with that. Yeah, that's it's definitely going to be fun to explore all those elements. And the reason why I didn't add too much information about Poseidon and Demeter's relationship in season 1 is because I do kind of feel like Poseidon wasn't really making an impact in the first season other than just being a joking character. And he would still have that vibe, but not, you know, it would just to reflect off of other things, and it would, yeah, there's a lot more I can expand on, but not for this video. I want to focus on making sure I tell you guys there is going to be at least 4 more seasons of what I just read that I wrote, but I want to keep it short and simple. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you did, and if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me if you did. Anyways, stay safe, stay cool, and stay hydrated. This is Dazzling Kate, signing the hell out of here.